But even with the best of intentions, communication can still break down. So now that we've looked at what we should do, let's just take a moment to point out 3 of the most common barriers when it comes to our communication. That way you'll be able to recognize them when they show up. The first barrier is assumptions and misunderstandings. Just because you said it doesn't mean they heard it. We often assume that others interpret our words the same way we do, but that is rarely the case. One of the ways to overcome this is, instead of asking, does everyone understand, try asking, can someone share how you understood what we just discussed? Now there's not just a head nod, now they actually have to participate. And this is really going to open the floor for them to share what they heard. And it's going to position you to be able to answer questions if something is unclear. Making a small shift like this can really bring any confusion to the surface before it becomes a mistake. The second barrier is the lack of active listening. Are you noticing a pattern? Yeah, these barriers show up when we don't maximize the principles that we just learned. Remember, we just pointed out how vital active listening is. And the problem is, leaders often default to talking, but we're not always the best intentional listeners. And if we don't listen well, there's consequences. It leads to missing valuable insights and damaging that trust we've been working so hard to build with our team. Now, to push back against this barrier, we can practice nodding, making eye contact, clarifying what was said, and reflecting back on what we heard. All simple habits, but they all go a long way. Now, the third barrier is to keep an eye out for emotional triggers. I've found over the years that stress and tension have a way of clouding our words. I see this time and time again. When emotions run high, teams often say things they regret. In those moments, the best move is just to pause, take a breath, and acknowledge what's happening. It can be helpful in those moments also to say something like, I can see this is frustrating. Let's take a minute, and then let's come back when things are a little bit calmer. Approaching the situation this way as a leader shows maturity, and it creates space for healthy dialogue to get through what we're going through. Well, that leads us to our application question for this session. It says, if you could change just one thing about the way you communicate that would have the biggest impact on your team, what would it be? Maybe this is slowing down to listen. Maybe it's cutting the clutter out of your communication or being clear. Or maybe it's leaning in and being fully present. Whatever it is, I want you to write it down. And I want you to imagine, what does it look like if you do this consistently?